All right, all right. We are Willem and Anneke from the Mission Trekkers.
Welcome to the podcast Travelling Friends of Oz, where we have a chat to other travellers around Australia about their travels, their tips, experiences, and more. Hi, everybody. This podcast is just going to be myself today and my beautiful guest, Erin. She is from the social page Rome Generation, which is an awesome page. Go and check them out. And I'm excited to talk to her and talk about their travels. Hi, Erin. How are you going?
Hi, I'm so good. Thank you. How are you?
That's good. I am good. It looks like it's a bit colder on your side of the world than it is for me.
It is. It's grey and overcast out there today. So
Right.
it's nice being in my cozy boat all warm
Yeah.
and snugly.
Where are you at the moment?
We're in Sicily in a town called Marina di Ragusa. And I live on a boat and we're in a marina at the moment. So
Yeah.
this is moving. It's usually a judge of how much my plant moves. Sometimes it's moving like this.
It's going to
But at
knock
the
you in the
moment, it's
head.
nice and still. Yeah. One day I'm just gonna get knocked out by it.
Well, on that note, do you want to tell our viewers, I know obviously, but if you want to tell our viewers a little bit about your story, why you're on a boat, how did you get there?
Yeah, of course. So it's a long story. It started back in about 2015. My husband and I were just watching TV one night. We were living like a really normal kind of life in the suburbs. Our we worked full time. Our kids, I think we did have three kids at the time. Two of them were in school. One of them was in daycare. We were just busy, and we sat down finally at 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night and watched Netflix as you do for an hour or so before you go to bed. And he just happened to choose this documentary, like completely random. I don't think we even discussed it. I was on my phone, I was just scrolling, and he chose this documentary about by Laura Decker, the youngest girl to ever sail around the world.
Yeah.
And so I remember thinking, I don't even want to watch this, but it somehow captivated me after a few minutes, and I put my phone down, and then we both watched the whole thing in silence. And that at the end, like the credits started rolling, and I just remember that we both looked at each other and went, we should do that. And it was pretty much simple as that. We had never owned a boat before, weren't sailors, weren't rich, we're not in a position to buy a yacht. Like, it was just completely random, but something in that documentary like just lit a fire inside of us to do something different with our life. And so from there we moved to the computer, started Googling families sailing around the world because we didn't even know it was possible. And then when we found out that other families were out there and making it happen, and that it was possible, and that you could sail across the oceans in like your own private boats with kids on board, our motto kind of became, if they can do it, why can't we? So yeah, 2 years and 2 months later exactly, we flew out of Australia on one-way tickets to the Caribbean, and then it's kind of been that's the rest is history. But yeah, so we've been on the boat in for about 3 years, but there was a break in between when we went home to Australia because of coronavirus and everything else. But yeah, we're in Italy at the moment, and that's our story.
I mean, I get goosebumps hearing it, and I did last time too. Like, it's just like how do you just watch a documentary and you just go, let's just do that? And it's not just, let's buy a caravan like most of the people we interview in Australia. It's like, let's buy a yacht and like sail the world. But yeah, it's amazing. And I think it's a really good inspiration, especially to a lot of our listeners are the kind of people who like, hearing why people chose to travel, whether that be the world or Australia, most of them. So yeah, it's amazing. Like, you guys it's about that family time, and you get a lot of it now, I'm sure. A lot more than what you did when you were in a house in Australia and just working a 9 to 5. So that's amazing. You kind of went into like why you traveled and stuff, and your yacht and what you live on, but I want to know a bit more details of the actual yacht that you're on, and like, how big is it? Like, obviously we can just see the room that you're in, but like, how big is it compared to, I guess, a caravan or a house, I guess?
Yeah, our boat is 47 foot. So I guess maybe you could compare that to a 47-foot caravan. I'm not how do I describe? So this is my bedroom here. So right next to me, we've got a queen size bed, a wardrobe over here, and then my husband has built me a desk. It didn't used to have a desk, and there was just nowhere on the boat where we could fit a desk.
Yep.
And so it took months for us to figure it out, but he ripped out some cupboards, had to build up like a fake floor because the boat is kind of curved at the sides, and obviously we're like, well, we can't put a desk chair there. And because I work full time, I needed something that was ergonomic. So anyway, he built all ergonomic workspace. I've got double screens, everything I need I have on the boat. It's like I'm at home essentially. And so then you walk through behind me, if I open this door, like right is the bathroom, and in the bathroom we've got like toilet, sink, shower, everything you need. And then you walk through again and you come out to the like galley. So we've got like a big table that can fit 8 people, and like U-shaped lounges either side. And we've got a nav station, which is kind of like a desk where you can sit and look at charts, and it's a bit of a waste space. You only really use it when you're sailing, and really we don't sail that often. It's more like we live in an apartment on the water. And then we've got the galley, so double sinks, and a fridge that you lift the lid up and you reach down into it, and cupboarding and everything. And then at the front of the boat we have the boys' bedroom, so they share. We've got bunks on one side and a single bed on the other side. And then for that is another toilet / my husband's shed. So back in Australia, my husband had like a 4-car garage. He loved his shed. He's like a real man. On the boat, obviously, there's just no space. So he's converted this like little area in the front toilet into also this like man's cave where he's put, like cupboarding and little drawers and things all over the place, hung all his tools off the wall and stuff. So you kind of make it work. But yeah, we've got everything we need on the boat. I don't really feel like space is an issue for me. There's like other things that I miss living on a boat, but living in a small space really doesn't bother me. And I think with a boat, like everything's kind of built in and molded in and designed to work. Whereas if you just had like a house of this size, it wouldn't be all kind of ergonomically built in, and everything kind of just works on a boat. You know what I mean? They design it that way so that it's optimum storage. So yeah, it's I've been in caravans obviously, but I don't know size wise how it would compare. I'd say it would be similar.
I think to me it sounds like it's a lot more. There's actual rooms, a bit more rooms, where in a caravan it's like one room and everything's just in little compartments, so I think that's the difference, especially being 27 foot. It's quite a bit larger than normal caravans. And it's probably a bit wider too than a caravan. But it sounds like you've got everything that you need and even more. Like if people can live, we've got people who live in like a swag and just in their car and they go, so you don't need much to be happy if you're surrounded with beautiful like places that you go, and sharing it with family, I guess. So but it sounds really exciting. I know my husband would be one to say let's get a boat, but I don't know about the sea feet. I don't know if I'll get that. I don't know, did you guys feel any nauseous, or did you have to get used to like the boat feeling, obviously?
Look, I think everyone gets seasick. It's just normal. Normally, like, it depends if you're just going like on a day sail and it's flat calm, usually it will all be okay then. But then sometimes it's random. It might just be this like particular swell, and one of the kids will just vomit for, no reason, but it's just the chop of the water that day. Or if we're going on, say, like a 5-day passage, usually for the first 1 or 2 days, everyone feels a bit queasy just because it just takes that time to get your sea legs. But I remember when we first moved on the boat, even though we were just anchored in a calm bay, I felt every time I went on land. So it was weird. I had what I call land sickness. Okay, while I was on the boat, but every time I went to shopping or whatever, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm like spinning out. I can't stand up. So yeah, it does weird things to you, but I think most people get used to it. There are still some hardcore people that live aboard, and like every time they go sailing, they're just like vomiting for days on end. Wow. I don't know how they do it, how they get back on the horse every time. But yeah, luckily our family, we're all pretty good. There's the odd chuck, but nothing too bad.
That's good. So talking about places you've been to, did you have like a bit of a bucket list where you wanted to go to, and have you ticked off those big, like some of your big bucket list items?
Yeah, look, I think when we first started, my dream was like sailing past Positano or the Amalfi Coast in Italy. For me, that would have been like, yes, we've made it once we've done that. But we kept searching in the Mediterranean, and the boat actually we found in the Caribbean. So it was almost like I had to kind of give up on the Mediterranean because it was sailing backwards, and you generally sail like one way around the world, not the other way. Yeah. So we started in the Caribbean. That was amazing. Did all of the islands up and down the island chain. And then it was kind of like we either go to the Pacific and back to Australia, or we head backwards across the Atlantic the other way, which was a little bit risky considering like we literally were not sailors. When we bought our boat and stepped aboard, we didn't know how to get from like, we didn't know how to get 200 meters away, like cross an ocean. But in 18 months, we like practiced obviously a lot, learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes, met a lot of people that helped us. And at the 18-month mark, after having lived on our boat and sailed the Caribbean, we decided, let's just go to the Mediterranean. It's a little bit of a harder passage going like east way across the Atlantic Ocean, but we didn't feel ready to go all the way back to Australia, because obviously like once you're there, you've got to go around the whole world to get the Mediterranean. So let's just go to the Mediterranean, then we can decide. We will tick that off the bucket list. So yeah, we've made it across the ocean. We stopped at the Azores, which are just these like amazing islands in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Then we came to the coast of Portugal, sailed down around Portugal, up around Spain, up to the Balearic Islands. The islands of Spain were like Ibiza and Mallorca. Oh, wow. And then we sailed down to Tunisia in Africa, because we have to, it's not a matter of just going where you want, when you want, because we're Australian, we're only allowed in the EU for 3 months, then we have to get out of the EU for 3 months. So we went to Tunisia for a few months, Malta, and then here. So in Italy, but also the seasons, so you can't just sail nonstop. It's winter here now. So, I mean, there are days when you could head out and sail and maybe make a jump, but in general, like the weather's more unpredictable. They get high winds, big storms. So most people kind of like hunker down for the winter. So that's why we're in a marina and we'll be here for like 6 months, because we decided to put the kids into school. And so we've made it to Italy. Next season, I think, will be like the bucket list. It'll be hopefully maybe going to see some more places in Italy. Then we'll do the Greek islands and Turkey. So everyone keeps saying like they're the jewel of the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, the Greek islands and Turkey. So
I mean, just the photos I've seen. Yes. Okay. I would say so too. So I just think everything that you're doing over there, like it would all be an experience and a bucket list, really. Like every country that you can tick off, or every island, and it's amazing.
You can't go wrong. No. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's very different to the Caribbean. Like you can't really compare. Caribbean's more all about the beaches and the water, whereas here I feel it's more about the land, the old towns and the castles and the architecture and history and everything. So yeah, both are awesome. I think by the time we leave here, if we go back to the Caribbean, we'll be ready, but we were also ready to leave the Caribbean and come here. So that's a good thing about it. They're quite different.
Yeah. So you said before that you can only stay for 3 months. How are you? So in Italy, can you stay longer then?
Yeah, well, actually, Italy has this bilateral agreement. Not many people know about it, but they've got this agreement with Australia and I think a few other countries as well, where you can get an additional 3 months. So
Okay.
that's how we're able to stay for 6 months here. It's
Okay.
not even something that you have to apply for. You literally just print out the agreement, which you can find, I don't know, online, I suppose, somewhere,
Yeah, the
or
embassy
go
or
to
something. Yeah.
embassy, yeah, and then at the border when like they stamp you out, if they question you, just like, here's the agreement, and then they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Cool.
not many people know about that, but
Yeah.
that's how we're able to pay.
Yeah. So, and also the big C, um, the new big C, obviously, of the world. How is that like? Yeah. How is that like? I guess bothered your travels, but also, I don't know, has that helped your travels a little bit? I know we know of people who it's actually been a blessing in disguise for them. But yeah, how's that been
Yeah,
around all of that?
honestly, it doesn't affect us. Our life has just been as normal. We both feel grateful that we got out of Australia. I know that sounds terrible, but all of our family and friends back in Australia are pretty depressed and really scared about COVID. We don't watch the news. We don't keep up to date on anything.
Yeah.
We wear masks. We do the odd bit of sanitizer. We're not religious about it. And, we've traveled for almost a year and we haven't caught it. I don't know. It's just, for me, it seems like it's not a big deal over
Yeah.
here. Maybe I've got my head in the sand and don't realize because I don't speak the language and I don't know what it's like in the hospitals or whatever, but out and about, people are still going to cafes and restaurants and hanging out and seeming to be living life as normal.
Yeah. It seems
So
like
for
the whole
us,
world has moved on a little bit, and Australia is now getting to the point where it's like, okay, so we have to move on, or we just stay in our little, cave and hide out forever.
exactly. Like we're able to get the vaccines before most Australians. And I know when we left, like everyone thought we were crazy. It's the coronavirus. How are you ever going to get your vaccine? You're going to catch it for sure. So we managed to get our vaccine in Spain quite early. Like I said, we haven't caught it yet. Touch wood. I mean, it's almost inevitable. I'm sure we're going to get it at some stage, but we certainly don't let it kind of dictate what we do or how we're feeling out
That's
here.
good.
And I think that the good thing is that like it's beautiful and quiet. So we get to walk around ancient cities that are probably normally so packed. And go to tourist attractions and stuff that we've almost got the place to ourselves. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, the whole Australia can't travel, so they're not there.
I know, right? They're like the one travelers too. So it's weird, like not meeting any Australians. Normally you're like so used to seeing Aussies everywhere, but there's hardly any over here. We actually had to apply to the government to get out of Australia, so that was interesting. But we put in like a really strong application. We actually sold our house in the end because the first time around, so it's kind of been like 2 rounds. The first time around, we rented our house out and went for a sabbatical for almost 2 years, and then we ran out of money. Coronavirus happened, and so we came back to Australia for 18 months to kind of like regroup and decide what we we're going to do. And then we sold our house, and then we applied to the government, and we had proof that we'd sold our house. We had proof that we still had our boat overseas. So then we got approved, and this time we've been going for like 10 months. So it's kind of like two rounds. And the difference is that like in the Caribbean there was heaps of kids, like one big party, and over here there's been hardly any kids and hardly any party, hardly any friends. It's really,
so they must enjoy the school then.
They've been glad to go to school, but school's actually in Italian, so they don't speak a bit of Italian.
How do they do that then?
People like assured me, I went on like heaps of world schooling groups and stuff, and people assured me that just with immersion they'll pick it up in 3 to 6 months. So we're just kind of hoping, if nothing else, they'll come out of it with a second language. So we're getting them tutored and make them watch some TV in Italian. It's like, oh, if you want to watch TV, you can watch it, but it has to be Italian. And they're like, okay, they'll just watch it anyway because they're desperate to watch screens. So yeah, so far they don't seem to have picked much up, but it's only been like 2 weeks that they've been going to school.
Yeah,
so
it's actually
really
kids adapt really quickly, and I think they catch on to something so quickly. So our kids, obviously we've taught them from young age, from babies, 2 languages, so they've grown up with 2 languages, Afrikaans and English. Awesome. So they are bilingual. They can just swap between the 2. But I think even if we had to teach them something later, they'd be able to I remember at school, because I knew another language, it becomes easier to just pick up a different one. Like if you just focus and you do it, and you have to do it as well, then you'll pick it up. Yeah. Kids are resilient like that.
Exactly. I feel like it's just hopefully a gift that we can give them, that even if Italian, like it's not spoken widely, but hopefully then it will make Spanish easy to learn. And
it's the culture anyway, so they're getting, which is I think the best part of why when people travel, the culture and like the experience that kids are getting is just way different than even what they can learn at school. It teaches them so much about life and social skills and things like that, which is way more important these days. I had a question. Obviously you've just talked about how long you've been traveling, came back to Australia, all of that. Do you have a plan of like how long you're still going to be in the yacht? Do you have a plan of when you're going to return to Australia, or you're just going?
Yeah, look, we're just going with the flow. It's so hard to say, because at the moment, like when the kids are in school, we're loving life because I'm back to having peace and quiet and being able to get my job done, and my husband can work on the boat and actually get something done.
Yeah.
But next season, it's like, well, for cruising Greek islands and Turkey, there's no school, obviously, and school is the hardest part of this. Like teaching them is just a nightmare. They're 3 boys. They're not the best behaved boys. They're like almost preteen, and just they don't listen, they don't concentrate, they complain, they fight, they argue. So it's really stressful, and my husband does the schooling. I sit in here and work, and so he's definitely got like the rough end of the stick. So I don't know, I don't even know if he's got another season in him. That's how hard it is. So it's just like, take it as it comes. We'll do these 6 months in Italy, we'll probably cruise over there, then after that, whether it's like, okay, we're done, or do we sail all the way back to Australia? Look, I wouldn't be surprised if we're still on the boat in 5 years' time, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we like sell the boat and buy a bus or something. You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
Finish the rest of the world trip in something else.
Exactly.
No, I appreciate your honesty about that all. And I think that's probably one thing that's our children are still small, but I think for us to go traveling, it's definitely one thing that's been on our mind, like who's going to do the schooling. And I know it's not going to be an issue for us at the start because they're still young. Like I'm not going to push it too much, but where your boys are at an age now where, it's a bit more important to build that foundation probably in schooling. So they kind of need to, get that and stuff. So and 3 boys. Wow.
And you just don't want to stuff them up, and I'm sure we're not, and everyone says how great it must be, but like the eldest has dyslexia, so that just adds like another level of complication. And he's going to be really worldly, but it's not going to be great if he can't read and write properly. So it's always that pressure on you that you've got to sort this out, or it's gonna be messed up.
Yes. So you've been talking a little bit about like what you do for work and stuff. We have a lot of people obviously ask people, how are you able to live this lifestyle? So if you want to let us listeners know what you do for a job, how did it start? Have you always been doing that?
Yeah, sure. So I run a PR agency called Rome Generation. I haven't always been doing this. So I used to work for the Australian government. I was a public servant, like mid-level, working in a communications kind of role. I used to interview people, write reports. So my skills transferred to this, but I never dreamt, I wasn't even aware that this really was a role. It was never on my radar. So it came about that when we went on our first sabbatical, we took 2 years, both took 2 years leave without pay from our jobs. So we knew that when we went back to Australia, we'd have a job to go straight back to. But while we were out there, after about 12 months of not working, I just kind of felt like I just wanted to do something and challenge myself and see if I could make money. And we were also going through our budget quicker than we expected. So it was almost like, all right, let's just figure out a way to make money. Then we can prolong this a little bit longer rather than having to go home early. And I just kind of started racking my brain. What can I do with the skills that I have? I didn't go to university. I don't have like a formal qualification. So I think I was talking about it on our Facebook page, and people kind of kept saying, you're a good writer, you should try writing. And I never dreamt that I could do writing. I'm a terrible speller. Just thought I was pretty average at writing. But like, I think it's like a muscle where you just keep practicing. So I kept making these posts, like quite long posts on Facebook. Everyone loved them. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try it. It's really daunting sitting down and writing something, because you don't really do it as an adult much. So I started writing about our life, and, we had a lot to share because we were living on a boat and seeing amazing things. And then I decided to try and like pitch those articles to magazines to see if they'd be interested in them. And just through that process, like, I learned a lot. I learned about how, obviously how to write, but also how the media kind of works and how you can sell articles and what kind of things they're interested in. And then I started thinking, well, I've got these skills in interviewing. I should interview people that I meet along the way. So I started interviewing people, writing articles about them. And then I came across these YouTubers. Actually, they're the number 2 YouTubers in the world. And they were like our idols before we'd set off. We'd watch their YouTube channel. Like, every time they had a new video, we watched all of their like back catalogue of 5 or 6 years worth of videos. They were like so inspirational to us, and they kind of kept us going every day when it felt hard or when we like wanted to quit. We'd watch one of their videos. So they're called SV Delos. They're still out there, DELOS, still out there sailing the world. And they just happened to be in the same island as us, and we kind of kept bumping into them. And I, by this stage, had kind of got an assignment from a local Caribbean newspaper to interview them. And so I went and bought their boat, and like, that was a huge deal. I was super nervous. I like asked my husband to come with me, and I was like, you can come and pretend that you're helping me, because he wanted to also come on the boat. And so we interviewed them for a couple of hours, and then I went away and wrote this article on them. And then a couple of weeks later, they sent me an email saying, hey, would you like to work for us? And that was like a pinch myself moment. I'm like, this is so crazy. Like, we watched these guys, they were our idols, and they want me to work for them. And they were like, we just want you to kind of just do what you did, keep writing articles about us and putting them in magazines. And so, I just started doing that, and then started kind of racking my brain. How else can I get these guys their name out there more? And started like pitching them to different blog posts and writing guest posts and ghostwriting for them. And essentially, I realized what I was doing was PR after some research. I was like, I'm good at this, and I really like this. It uses all the skills I have. I'm really like tenacious and like a dog with a bone. I don't like to give up until I get what I want. And so that's all part of being a good PR person. And so, I just, once I decided that's what I was going to do, I studied, I did a ton of courses, got mentors and coaches, and basically learned all I could to be like a really good PR person. Then I wanted to not just do freelance, but I wanted to have my own agency. So again, did another course, learn all I could, set up my agency. Obviously got more clients along the way, hired staff. And yes, now like a few years later, it's a PR agency. I've got staff that work for me, all remote, like never met half of them. One of them happens to be my best friend from school. She's my BA. But other than that, like never met them. We do everything remotely. I don't meet my clients either normally. We do everything online, and people are kind of spread out all around the world. And
Wow.
yeah,
Do you reckon
it's
that's
kind of like,
now a career that you'll keep doing? Obviously, like the business and the agency will keep going. And now, like you've
yeah,
gone and traveled and you've just started like a massive agency, which probably could see you just do it for the rest of your life.
yeah, I think so. I would never, I mean, you can never say never because you just don't know what life's going to throw at you. But I don't see myself going back to a job.
Yeah.
If I did, it would be obviously for a reason that I've chosen to do that. But yeah, I don't see myself working for anyone else before. Honestly, like I feel so grateful that this has kind of worked out. I mean, I hate getting up to an alarm every morning. It's just this thing that no matter what time the alarm goes off, it's just horrible. So I don't have to wake up to an alarm. I can set my own schedule. I can work. I mean, I work a lot, but you know, if I want to get up and go for a walk right now, I can. I can work till 1 a.m. if I choose to. I can take a whole day off if I want to. Like it's so flexible. But also like our niche that we work in is like travel, leisure, and luxury. So I work with like amazing clients, people that I wouldn't have ever met or ever dreamt of being able to talk to, get insight into their businesses. Like we've got really cool people that we work with because, I mean, obviously, if you're choosing a PR agency that's run from a yacht remotely, you're probably going to value that, which means your business in itself might also be, you know, a bit different, unique, whatever. So we get to work with a lot of cool, inspiring people, which is really fun. And yeah, I mean, I'm proud when I get to say what I do. Whenever in my old job, I was just like, oh, yeah, I just work for the Australian government and never felt really that proud of it. But now it's like, yeah, I run a PR agency. I think it sounds cool. So it's nice to have it. But finally, to have a job that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And I wish I could be better at writing so I could do that kind of stuff. Because I passed the spelling, but my friend who couldn't spell, who asked me, Anneke, how do you spell humor? Like that's the word she couldn't spell at school. She's now a journalist in Melbourne. So it doesn't matter if you can't spell. I think it's more about like how you express yourself, and which is something I always struggled with. That's awesome.
You can practice though, like you can get better at it, which I never really knew. But yeah, so don't give up hope yet.
Do you I know that obviously it's your agency, but do you offer any like I guess like value or training to people who want to know more about how they could, I don't know, maybe do blog posts or guest posts and like the PR stuff, but for themselves, like just at a smaller level? Do you provide any of that kind of stuff to people?
Yeah. So there's a few ways that you can work with us. So normally, because PR is like a long-term strategy, it's different to marketing. We're essentially like learning all about the business, and then once we have a good handle on the business, and we promote those stories so we pick out a story angle. We write a really concise email, which is called a pitch, and then we send those to journalists. We don't just flick it out to any journalist. Like we do a lot of research to find a journalist that we know is going to be interested in this story, who writes for a publication that we know would print a story like this. And we're essentially compelling them to share a story about you. And so because they then write a story, it's written by a third party, it's very credible, and it holds a lot more weight than, say, an ad that you would just put in the paper. But that whole process takes a long time because we have to build relationships with the journalists, and then we also have to, you know, like build it's like it builds it up on itself. So it might take, like in advertising, it takes like 7 touch points before it sinks in. It's a little bit the same in PR. We might email the same journalist 4 or 5 times before they finally write back. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, it's not an overnight success. It's not it's also, there's no guarantees in PR. Like we could work so hard and send so many emails, and it's just not newsworthy. It's not something that they're interested in. So normally we have a 6-month retainer in those circumstances, because that's how long it takes to really start getting good momentum. But not everyone can afford 6-month retainer. So, you know, we're willing to do 3 if it's like a smaller project and that's going to help people. Or we can just do consulting. So if you just want to pay for a few hours or 1 or 2 hours of consulting, you can definitely jump on the phone and do that. Otherwise, we have what's called a Kickstarter package, where we would essentially do, like, you pay for 1 month, and in that first month we'll do a strategy and press plan. We'll come up with a media list, so we'll research the name and the email addresses of the journalists and the publications, and we will write like a sample pitch for you, and then we'll kind of give that to you in a pack, and then you can go away and send off those emails and write to people.
That's really good.
But there's different ways. The PR, it's not rocket science. Like, it is something you can do yourself, but it's very time consuming. It's like cutthroat. You have to be very resilient. I think if you're doing it for yourself personally, you would like, you might take it to heart a little bit more, the rejections, because there's a lot of rejections, whereas it's not my business that I'm being rejected about personally. Yes, it's my writing. Yes, like, sometimes you'll put your heart and soul into an email, and I always try and make it personalized, and I'll say, how's your child or your dog, or make something so they know that this is just for them, and they literally just delete, so that's hard, but you learn that that's just normal. They're super busy, they're getting hundreds of pictures every day, so that's why you kind of hire a PR agency. They've got like the media know-how, the savvy, and the determination to just keep sending those emails, and also following up. Like, follow-up super important. So if you're going to do PR, don't just send one email and think that they didn't write back, that they're not interested. Like, it's so common to get a reply after 2 or 3 emails, so always do that second and third follow-up. And remember, like, add value, give the journalists a story that's going to help their audience. It's not about you. They're not doing you a favor by sharing your story. You are giving them a story that's going to benefit their readers. So always kind of give value, and it has to be newsworthy. Like, really ask yourself, can you imagine this story being in the covers of Travel and Leisure, or whatever publication you're writing to? And if not, then
it's not just not everyone gets into a magazine. It's, you have to give value. That's awesome. Thanks so much for that. That's, I think, amazing information for even myself, and for a lot of people who would be listening, who have got traveling brands and stuff, who tries to create blogs and want to get their voices out there. And I'm sure they'll probably contact you and see how you can help them. I know of a few people personally that would. So, So obviously you've just told everyone about your business and stuff, but where can they reach out to you? Is there just a website they go to, or do you have specific socials that they can go to? This is the point where we usually ask you to drop all your handles and, do a bit of a plug.
All right, cool. So like I said, my business is called Roam Generation, and that's ROAM, like roaming around the world. That's actually the name of our boat. So the word roam, I don't know, I just love it. That's what we named our boat. It's actually from the B-52 song, Roam, Roam if you want to. So that was like our theme song when we were 24 and went on our first tiki tour around Europe. That like song played in the bus every day. So that was just what we named our boat. And then I knew that I wanted that to have something to do with my business. So Roam Generation, and it's www.roamgeneration.com. Socials are all just Roam Generation. But we also have our Facebook page, where I just put stuff about our trip and nothing to do with my business, and that's called Sailing to Rome. So Sailing TOROAM. And that's on socials. That I don't have a website for that, but I do have Instagram and Facebook. And I don't post on there as often as I used to. It's just hard now, working full time and running a business and kids. But every few weeks I like whack something up there. And other than that, reach out to me on my email, Erin@roamgeneration.com. Always love to hear about people's crazy lives and different ways that people are making money and different cool businesses. And if we might be able to work together, collaborate. I obviously have a lot of cool clients who are always looking for collaborations and partnerships as well. So I'm just a big believer in, making contact, keeping in touch, building relationships. Obviously now that's a cornerstone of what I do. So yeah, reach out and say hi. Be good.
Amazing. Lastly, Erin, do you have a bit of advice for anyone who wants to take on something like you've just done, and just a bit hesitant? I know you were very like, let's go, but yeah, if you have any advice for them on making that decision.
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, I really believe in like leap and a net will appear. I'm just such a big believer in that the universe will reward you. If you're going to make some crazy hard decision that no one else makes, the universe is going to support you because like you just had the guts to do that. That's in my experience what I've found. So that's one. I think the second thing is just come up with a crazy idea and then work backwards. Just pick it. Don't think about how you're going to make it happen. I mean, obviously ours was ridiculous and we made it happen. So if we can do that, you know, like I said, we weren't rich. We had a massive mortgage. We didn't have any savings. We were just very average people that just figured out a way to make it work. And it was a bit like, you know, the whole universe woo-woo stuff. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but I have experienced it. So I know that it's true. Because we came up with this idea and then we spoke about it as though it was going to happen. And we didn't say, oh, if we go on the boat, we'd be like, when we go on our boat trip, when we go sail around the world, when this, people thought we were insane. We kind of felt a bit stupid at the start, even saying it. But the more we said it, the more comfortable we felt with it. And then it was just like failure wasn't an option. So all of this, it's, you know, The Secret, whatever else, it's when you decide it and talk about it and think about it as though it's happening. You'll be amazed at the things that just show up in front of you, different ways to make money or different ideas or different things, or the people that you meet and the people that are willing to help you. Like we met so many people were so kind in like teaching us things or giving us things or sharing information. So yeah, that's my second piece of advice, is like pick your idea, work backwards and just figure it out. And my third part is that you have to make sacrifices. We struggled for 2 years. We didn't go out for dinner, we didn't buy clothes, we didn't, basically, unless it was going to get us on the boat, we didn't do it. But we found like joy in simple things, like we'd ride our bikes down to the foreshore and we'd eat $5 worth of chips and it would end up being fine, you know, like you can survive without everything. You don't need that new vase or that new rug or whatever else you're buying for your house. Just really cut back, make sacrifices, but know that the sacrifice will be worth it, because, you know, you'll spend 2 years doing something that no one else in the world would do, to then live the rest of your life doing something that no one else in the world can do. So it's worth it.
That's awesome. That was such good advice. It's very alongside. We're very like-minded and I love it. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that was it. So thanks so much for jumping on. Like you've given the viewers and the listeners like so much information about, I guess, a new avenue of traveling, not just traveling in Australia, but traveling the world, having the confidence to do it and finding something. Because a lot of people, I think what stops them is like, how am I going to make money? And then they try and find stuff before they leave, or some people actually just sell up and then they stop because they have to come back because their budget has run out. But you found something else which will keep your dream going, which is amazing. So very good inspiration. And I thank you so much for your time out of like your work and out of your family's time to coming on and speaking to us on our podcast and giving some information to other travelers of Australia.
Awesome. Thank you. Like hopefully I'll see someone out here on the water. There's heaps of Australians out here, so it's not like as rare as you think. Go on to YouTube and you'll find thousands of sailing YouTube channels. It's like a real popular thing now.
Amazing. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you for listening to another awesome episode of Traveling Friends of Ours. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know how much you like the podcast by rating it in order to help it reach more listeners across Australia. The podcast is a non-for-profit, so we appreciate all the support.
Please also share the podcast on your socials by tagging Travelling Friends of Oz, as we are on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. These links are in the description below, and remember to subscribe as there are many more stories yet to be told.
Travelers listening to this, if you want to be featured on the podcast, get in contact with us. We would love to share your story with other traveling friends of ours.